Tonight about a man police say either jumped or fell from the 45th Street overpass onto Interstate 94. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Mike has the evening off. Police say 28-year-old Cody Cadmaras of Fargo was taken to the hospital Thursday. His condition's unknown. He was seen walking in the area, and according to witnesses, he fell off. Thankfully, he wasn't hit by traffic. Now, police are still investigating and are not sure if he jumped or fell. But this story has a lot of people talking about mental health and suicide. In fact, we have reported on multiple suicides over the last couple of weeks. And there isn't enough people trying to maybe prevent suicide. That's according to a local firefighter who tried to take his life after struggling with PTSD. Valley News Team's Nicole Johnson has his story.
I lost a lot, but I gained my life, and for the first time in my whole life, I'm alive.
Scott Gieselhart has been a volunteer firefighter for 20 years in Frazee, Minnesota.
We went on quite a few car accidents about 15 years ago. And we haven't had, thank God, we haven't had too many lately, fatalities and bad ones.
The challenges of the job started to get to him over the next few years.
The nightmares would come back, and I'd see my kids falling out of the sky on fire and falling into the water and drowning while they're on fire, and I was paralyzed. I couldn't help them. I mean, that was the worst dream I've had. That many nights, and it got to the point where I just didn't want to shut my eyes anymore.
He struggled with drugs and anger towards his two boys and girlfriend at the time until a breaking point in July of 2014.
I thought the only way out, the only way to give them some relief and to do the right thing was to take myself out. And that's when I went down and I put the gun to my head and I pulled the trigger and it just clicked.
But for a reason he can't explain, the gun didn't go off.
I'll tell you, it's God. It's the only way. It's the only answer, because that's a revolver, and a revolver, the hammer comes down, it hits something to make it click.
It wasn't until that night Scott reached out for help and realized he had been struggling with PTSD, and no one, not even himself, noticed.
And why couldn't people see that? I mean, it can happen to anybody. PTSD, depression, suicide, it's all hand in hand, and it's not being talked about enough.
Since, Scott has made it a personal mission to save lives. He's been traveling to fire departments across Minnesota, speaking about PTSD and suicide.
Now I just want to give back, and try to prevent this from happening to somebody else.
Nicole Johnson, Valley News Live.
Scott said he called a dozen times to a national suicide hotline, but they didn't answer. And he says they were disconnected because they didn't have enough funding. Thankfully, he did get a hold of a local helpline that helped save his life. If you or someone you know is struggling, call the number on the bottom of your screen. You can also simply dial 211 and be connected with FirstLink locally. Just head to valleynewslive.com for more resources as well.